So 93a, third line. Ayorish somech, someone who inherits. So the father voluntarily offers an offering. The father dies. Now the son is bringing it. Does the son do smicha? Does he lean on it or not? So the Mishnah said yes. So Tani of Chanina Kamei Rava. He had the exact opposite. Yorish eno somech. A Yorish does not do smicha. And Yorish eno meimer. This idea of Tamura, you could take an animal and the violation of the Torah, transfer its sanctity. So we say he can't do that. Yorish somech, the exact opposite. Umevias nesachav umeimer. He could do smicha and he could do Tamura. Also brings libations. So Amrle Ibchai, okay, maybe switch it to say that he can't, so that it fits with this teaching. Amrle Lo, no need to switch it. Why? Because Masnisin Mani Rabbi Yehuda here. Our mission is Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya Yorish Somech, Yorish Meimer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yorish Eno Somech, Yorish Eno Meimer. The Brisa brings two opinions. So Rabbi Yehuda is the one that does not allow smicha and does not allow Meimer. So we want to switch, I think, actually the teaching that was taught to Rava, because it's against the Mishnah. We said, no, you don't need to switch it. That reflects Rabbi Yehuda. My time in Rabbi Yehuda, that he says an inheritor cannot do smicha and cannot do Tamura. It says korbanov, lo korbanov. It says only his offering and not the offering of his father. Has he the person's own offering? So that's all by smicha. Now, we have the original sanctity of the offering, and then you have, when it's about to be shechted, right before you slaughter it, you do smicha. So the Gemara is saying that once I know that the inheritor, the son, cannot do smicha on his father's sacrifice, I'm going to learn from there that he also can't do tamura. Just like he can't do the step right before the final sanctity of the slaughtering. The Yalav Techilas Hektish Misof Hektish. He learns out that if he can't do that, he can't do imbue with original sanctity either. Masov Hektish Yorish Eno Somech Haftil Hektish Yorish Eno Meimer. If you can't even do smicha, that small step, so to speak, before the shechita, for sure you can't imbue it. You can't put the holiness onto another animal. If a rabbanon hold a yorish, an inheritor, can't do smicha, can't do tmura. Heimer yamir l'rabbis esa yorish. The double language comes to include a inheritor, and then once you include him for tmura, which is the bigger novelty, that you can put new sanctity onto an animal, even though it's prohibited. But if you do it, it works. The yalif sov hektish mitchilas hektish. You learn out sov hektish, meaning smicha from tmura. Matchilas hektish yorish meimer af sov hektish yorish somech. So a debate, Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon. V'Rabbanon hayi korbano mai avdilei. Only his offering, the Rabbi Yehuda said, and not the inheritor's offering. What do the rabbis do with that? Korbano v'lo korbano v'kachavim. It says another time korbano, and you don't do smicha on a non-Jew's offering. And a third time korbano v'lo korban chavero, you don't do smicha on your friend's offering. Korbano l'ravos kol bali korban l'smicha. If the korbano comes to include everyone who has their own offering, they have to do smicha. So that's what the Rabbanon do. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda l'ravos kol bali korban l'smicha lesle. He doesn't have that last korbano that tells you that it includes everyone for smicha. So rather, he has it available to exclude the yorish. V'inami islay, maybe he really has it. And a non-Jew and your friend are all from one of the korbanos. They're excluded from one of the korbanos because it's just a way of saying yours and no one else's. So two people that are someone else would be a friend or a non-Jew. Those are both not you. So it's not two separate exclusions. It's all from one verse. So now isolate trey cry. Two remain korbanos. Chad korbano below korban aviv. The idach l'rabos kol bale korban l'smicha. One comes to exclude the father, and one comes to include all the people that have a korban have to do smicha. Rabbi Yehuda, what is he with the double language of Tamura? It says, "Hi hemer yamer my avdilei." What's do with it? The Rabbah says isha. It comes to that a woman could do smicha. The Tanya lefisha kol inyan kol einam davar elav lashon zacher. So the whole section there is talking in masculine language. So masofino, Maso fino l'rabos. So literally, I don't have to check literally what at the end do they include? Right. Now that there's more of a, now that there's like is Hamir Yamir is a female language?
Is that we ultimately include the woman.
So how do you include Maso fino l'rabos isha? Tamalom or Hamir Yamir? Meaning the whole section is talking in masculine. So how do we ultimately, that's the word, okay? How do we ultimately, at the end of the day, the final at the end of the day, how do you include a woman if the whole parsha is masculine? So we say, Heimer Yamir. The double language comes to include a woman. V'Rabbanan Darshi V'im. The word and if. V'im includes a woman. Rabbi Yehuda. V'im lo darish. Yeah, V'im lo darish. Doesn't interpret that word V'im. Everyone agrees that a woman can do smicha. A debate if an inheritor can do smicha and then tmura comes together with it. So that's two opinions, Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Mishnah Kol Somchin, everyone can do smicha except Chutz mi, a long list. Cherish, someone who is deaf, mute. Shota, someone who's deranged. Katan, a minor. Vasuma, a blind person. Chavim, a non-Jew. Ha'evid, a servant. Vashaliach, a messenger. V'ha'isha, and a woman. Sorry, before we include a woman for tmura, not for smicha. Before we said everyone agrees that a woman included for tmura, it's that she can transfer sanctity from one offering to the next, even though it's not allowed. It works, but we didn't say she's included from smicha. In fact, the Mishnah says she's excluded from smicha. So we have a cherishot the katan; those always go together. Suma oved kacham evid. That's 6. V'hashaliach v'ha'isha. So 8 categories of people that are excluded from smicha. Now the Mishnah says of the smicha shiari mitzvah. So literally, it's like shiari means like the remnants, like by the Hasidic rabbis they give out their shirayim, they give out their leftovers. So what it means is leftover, so to speak. It means that if you don't do it and you just shech, it still atones. It's still going to be good. So of course you should do it, but it's not something which is preventative. Where do you do smicha? Al harosh, on the head. How many hands? 2. B'shtei yadayim. U'b'makom shesomchen shoktin. In the place that they do smicha, they also shecht. And the Gemara is going to ask on this, v'take of the smicha shrita. And right after smicha shrita, which is basically repetitive. Sounds repetitive. So the Gemara is going to ask. Now, who these 3, the deaf, mute, the deranged, and the katan, are always lacking a certain level of intellectual maturity, that therefore they're excluded from many, many things, because you have to have a certain maturity age, and they don't have that either because they're deaf, mute, or because they're deranged, or because they're just too small. So, Oved Kochavim Nami, and you also look, it says, B'nei Yisrael Somchin, Ve'ein Avdei Kochavim Somchin, only a Jew, not a non-Jew. Ella Suma, my time. Why a blind person? Why can't he do smicha? My time, a lower of Chisna, Rav Yitzchak Bar Dini Chadamar Asya Smicha Smicha Mezikne Ha'eda. It says by the elders, it says over there that they're going to do smicha, and I believe that's by the bull that's brought as a communal offering. If the Sanhedrin makes a mistake, erroneous mistake, and people follow it, then you have to bring the par helam davar shel tzibur, the bull, and they do smicha on that. So it says smicha here, it says smicha there. The first Mishnah in Chagiga, the Ola, every one of the 3 main pilgrimage festivals, you have to bring a Ola. It's called an Ola Tzre'iyah. It says you should not show up empty-handed. So, for a fundraising campaign, no. So you can't come to shul empty-handed. If you didn't write a check, you can't come in. So it has to be a check of a certain size, and you have to do smicha on it. Yeah. So the olos re'iyah, lamanda or olos re'iyah. Okay. So now we have 2 ways, 2 sources where you learn that smicha by a blind person is excluded, either by the elders, and there as an elder you can't be a blind person and be an elder, or the source is olos re'iyah, that it says by the sacrifice that you bring on the 3 festivals, it says there, the Gemara says a drasha, yira yera'eh. It says just like you're seen with two eyes, so to speak, referring to the Shekhinah, you have to also come and see with two eyes, coming to exclude even a blind person in one eye. The Gemara says in Chagiga. So, my time Yalif min zikne eda. So the one who learns from the Olis Re'iyah, the offering that's brought on the pilgrimage festivals, why does he not learn from zikne eda, from the elders? Next page. A lot of elders recently. Done in yachid mi yachid vein done in yachid mi tzibur. I would rather learn from individual than tzibur to tzibur. So the zikne ha'eda, the offering that they bring, they have to do smicha on, is this par halam davar, I believe, the bull. Yeah, the bull. That's a communal offering. We're talking about even an individual offering, a personal offering. So I'd rather learn personal offering from personal offering. That's why I learned from the Olis Re'iyah. That's a personal offering that everyone has to bring on the three festivals. So I'd rather learn from there than from a communal offering. Okay, go the other way. Why, if you learn from Zikna Eda, do you not learn from the Olis Re'iyah? Done in immediate exhibit smicha begufei, immediate exhibit smicha begufei, lafuke Olis Re'iyah, the he gufa ma'olis ndava gamra. The reason is because by the elders, it says smicha in that section. It says the elders have to do smicha. It's more of a direct derivation, as opposed to the Olis Re'iyah is one step removed. It doesn't say anywhere by the Olis Re'iyah, by the sacrifice brought on the three festivals, that you have to do smicha. How do you know it from? From the Olos Nadava, from a voluntary Ola offering. So that's more indirect. So therefore, we're not going to learn from there. Interesting. Okay. The Tani Kamed Rav Yitzchak Bar Abba V'Yikra V'Sa Ola V'Yasek Kamishra Olos Nadava. It says you should bring the Ola and you do it according to the law. Which law? Kamishpat Olos Nadava, like the law of a Nadava. Meaning, Limed al Olas Chova should do the smicha. Just like the voluntary, fully consumed Ola offering requires smicha, and it says by the offering by the three festivals, you should do it according to the law. Which law? The law of the Olas Nadava. That's how you know that it also requires smicha. I was a little bit bothered by it, and I see that others are too. We have all these rules when it comes to sacrifices. Something learned in a hekish, you can't go and teach an Xer Shava. All those like technical rules that only apply in this world. So this seems to be a violation. You're learning out from Olos Re'iyah to Smicha over here, and Olos Re'iyah itself is learned out from Olos Nadava. So that's interesting how that works. Yeah. Okay. Either way. Yeah. Okay. Either way, I'm making good time. So Tana Rabbanon, it says in the parsha of Smicha, Yado, his hand. What's his hand coming to exclude, as opposed to what? His foot. What's his hand coming to exclude? Answer is no. Yado below Yad Avdo, and not the hand of his servant. It's interesting that the language of the Gemara, when it talks about a servant acquiring something, the language is Yad Eved ki Yad Rabo. The hand of the servant is like the hand of the master, meaning whatever the servant acquires goes straight to his master. He doesn't have his own ability to possess things. It's interesting. It sounds like you would have thought that maybe the servant's hand would be included in the master's hand. We say no. It's like the master's third hand, so to speak. We say no. Yado v'lo Yad Avdo, and not the hand of the servant. Yado, because remember, we already excluded other people. We said korbanot, his offering and not the one of his friend, his offering and not the one of a non-Jew, meaning it has to be you doing it. So why would you think that a servant should be included? He's not you. Maybe because he's like an extension of you. He has like a third hand. So you'd have thought maybe he'd be included. Maybe suggestion. So it says no. Yado v'lo Yad Avdo, Yado v'lo Yad Shlucho, and not your messenger. Your messenger is for sure like your third hand. We have all these rules called Shlucho Sh'adam Kamoso. you could send a messenger to do an acquisition, and it's as if you're doing it. Yado v'lo yad shlucho. Yado v'lo yad ishto. I don't get too controversial. It's also not the hand of your wife. You might have also thought that she's an extension of you, and therefore we say her hand's also excluded. Now says the Gemara, why do I need yado 3 times to exclude these three people? Kol hani lamali. It's necessary. Tzricha. You would have thought that an Eved is lav bar mitzvahs. It sounds like we're talking about only an Eved Kanani, a non-Jewish Eved, not a Jewish Eved. It says that you'd have thought he's not included in mitzvahs. Now, not really true. He is. He's only exempt in the time-bound mitzvahs. What it probably means is lav bar mitzvahs. It doesn't say that he can't do mitzvahs. He's not one who's obligated in mitzvahs, meaning he's not obligated the way everyone else is obligated. He's in a very quasi state. An Eved Kanani, some say gets a mikveh before and after. I think everyone agrees he gets a mikveh after, I believe. Meaning when he leaves servitude, he's now a full-fledged convert. So really in the middle, he's not really a full-fledged Jew. He doesn't have the holiness of a full-fledged Jew. That's what it means, lav bar mitzvah. He's not really one who's part of the tribe, even though, he's quasi and he's obligated in many mitzvahs, but it's not the same as a Jew. So therefore, he's lav bar mitzvahs, but shaliach, your messenger, the bar mitzvah who? That not that he's 13, but a shaliach is someone who is obligated in mitzvahs. Sounds very clear from here that a non-Jew can't be your shaliach, which is an exposition in other places. Shaliach bar mitzvah who? Vishlugu shalom kamoso. And the Gemara teaches us in the second paragraph of Kiddushin that the messenger of a person is like you. An amazing novelty of the Torah that someone can step in your shoes for acquisitions, even though you didn't do it. And Torah says you have to do it. It can't be somebody else. You have to do it, but yet you have a messenger with different rules and regulations, how to appoint the messenger and things like that. But either way, he is, you would have thought, Ema Lismoch, they could do smicha, to which we say they can't. Now, the servant and the shaliach, they might be an extension of you, but they're not like your body. Kigufei damya. Aval ishto kegufo. She's mamish like you. She's not just an extension of you. She's one with you. She's like your body. The kigufei damya. She might disagree, but ishto. Maybe if you treat her like this, then she wouldn't disagree. I don't know. So ishto the kigufei damya. Ema tismak her. Even if a servant and a shaliach are excluded, but a wife is much closer to you, so you'd have thought she could be included with your. Meaning when the Torah says his hand, you'd have thought that meant his hand and her hand, because her hand is his hand. It's the same thing. A matismach, today we need a special exclusion, yado, an extra yado, velo yad ishto, and not the hand of your wife. Okay, now, smicha shiare mitzvah. The leaning is considered a remnant of the mitzvah. What does that mean? It says, it sounds, wow, you do smicha, you lean, and then you're appeased. V'nirtza. Says, I don't understand. Smicha is not the thing that gets you atonement. It's just not. We know it's the blood. The blood is mechaper. The blood atones, not the leaning. How do I know? It says explicitly that the blood is the one that atones. So why did the Torah make it sound like, once again, a great question for someone who doesn't believe in the oral Torah. How would you fit these two psukim? Which one does atonement? Is it the blood or is it the smicha? So we say, why does the Torah make it sound like smicha is the one that causes atonement, when explicitly it says that it's not? It's the blood that causes atonement. If you treat the smicha like a shiare mitzvah, you brush it aside. It's not a necessity. I don't have to do it. You do. It's a mitzvah to do. But if I don't do it, I still get atonement. If you treat it like that, like a secondary thing, so then we're going to treat you like you didn't get atonement, even though you did. So I don't know what the ramification is of treating Lu like you didn't get atonement. You definitely don't look the best in Hashem's eyes, that's for sure. Is there any practical ramification of that? I don't know. Don't know. The Tanya Gabi Tanufa, we have a similar exposition when it comes to waving, and when you have to wave the sacrifice, as we'll see more at the bottom of the page. We got there. So get there today, not in general. So it said V'tanya Gabe Tanufa Ki Hayigavno. By waving, it has a very similar thing. It says L'Tnufa L'Chaper. Once again, waving atones. No, it doesn't. It's the blood that atones, not the waving. So the blood atones. So why does the Torah write when you wave you get atoned? It's not true. If you're going to treat waving like, I don't, it doesn't prevent me from getting atonement, you treat it like a secondary thing, we're going to view you like you didn't get atoned for, even though you did get atoned for. Okay. Toner Rabbanon says the Brisa, Yado al harosh v'lo yado al tzavar. Where do you put the hands? On the head, not on the neck. Yado al harosh v'lo yado al gabayim. You put the hands on the head and not on the back. Yado al harosh v'lo yado al chazeh. And you put the hands on the head and not on the chest. Wondering. 1 second. It's all from the same yado as we had before. I mean, it really only says yado once, even before that we excluded the servant, the non-Jew, and the wife, and here we're excluding the back, neck, and chest. The verse that it's quoting, it just says samach yado once. It's interesting. But the exposition is sorry. Here it's yado ala rosh. It says explicitly on the head, and it coming to exclude these three things. It doesn't say yado 3 times. It says yado, hands on the head. Yeah, that's where they got it from. Smicha, hands on your head. Oh no, they say hands on your back. What do they say when you get arrested? You would know. No, what is so hands on your head. I don't know. Oh, that's by TSA. Do we have TSA anymore? You're on strike still? Okay, either way, hands on your head and not hands on the back, chest, or neck. Why do you have to have all? Why does the Gemara tell you the Bryce says all 3 are excluded from on your head? So it says, one excludes the neck because it's not in line with the head. It's below the head. Aval gabo, the back, is at least in line with the head. Maybe that counts. No, it doesn't count. The back's excluded. Okay, the back and the neck are never included. So they're never included. Like for waving, you don't wave the back or the neck. Okay, but the waving you do with the chest, at least that should be included. You need it to be excluded. You would have thought it would be included, and therefore you need it to be excluded. Okay, now we have a question now. Yado al hatstadin mahu. We have a question. Putting your hands on the sides of the head, not on top of the head. Mahu. Tashma the Tanya Abba B'Yira B'Rabbi Eliezer Ben Yaakov Omer. Yadu al rosho v'lo yadu al tzadin. Oh, says explicitly, hands on the head and not on the sides. By Rabbi Yirmiyah matalis matlis ma'u sorry. By Rabbi Yirmiyah matlis ma'u shetachutz. You put a cloth on your hands. Is that going to cause a chatzitza? Does the rule of chatzitza apply by smicha? When it says put your hands on the head, it means hands on the head with no interposition, no gloves, or not. So. Make sure the Brisa says you have nothing that's causing an interposition between your hands and the animal, which would mean that when a woman, no, she's excluded. Yeah, okay. Anything on the hands would be interposition. You have to make sure Your hands are clean. Make sure you're not wearing gloves. Okay, how many hands you use? B'shtei yadayim, 2 hands. Minahani, how do I know 2 hands? So now, the Torah only said samach yado, his hand. Now, in another part, that's all in the beginning of Vayikra. But then, next week's parsha, it says there shtei yadav. So yado is 1, shtei yadav is 2 hands. So now, Amar Reish Lakish, the Amar Krav, the samach aron shtei yadav. So ksiv yado, ksiv shtei. It doesn't say yadayim. It says yado. You could read it in the you could read it in the singular, but it says shtei, so you read it in the plural. So says Reish Lakish, this is the general rule. Zeh bana av, kol makom shenemar yado harei kan shtayim. Whenever it says yado, you should now know it means 2. In one place in the Torah, it says yado, which is singular, but it says shtei, which is plural. That teaches you whenever it says yado, it's going to be plural. Ad shiafari lecha kasav achas, until we specified 1. Meaning, until it tells you 1 hand, even when it says 1 hand, it means 2 hands. Until it specifies yad echad or something like that. Yeah. Now, Azil Rabbi Lazar went. Amr laha shmaita b'bei midrasha. He went and said over this teaching, not in the name of Reish Lakish. V'lo Amr mishmei Reish Lakish. Guess what happened? Shama Reish Lakish ve'ikbid. Reish Lakish heard and was furious. You're quoting me and you're not quoting my name. Now, Amar Lei, Reish Lakish told him, Sakadaita kol hechadik siv yado tartininhu lam lemiktav yadav actually esrim arba yadav. Reish Lakish heard this teaching from Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar didn't say it in Reish Lakish's name. It was the teaching of Reish Lakish. But now Reish Lakish is basically saying, you've misquoted me, even though you didn't quote my name. He said, you made it sound like whenever it says yado, it means 2. I'll bring you all over the place. Why then does the Torah say yadav in the plural all over the place? And he brought 24 places that it says yadav. Now, last night I was reminded, it's not a question, I was reminded, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish were chavrusas. And when Reish Lakish passed away, Rabbi Yochanan was so hurt. It was so painful for him because everything he said, Reish Lakish was asking 24 questions. I believe that's the language that's used. So here Reish Lakish brings 24 times he asked him where it says the word yadav in the plural and not yado. So yadav tiviena, yadav ravlo, shikaletz yadav. So he asked Rabbi Lazar all these questions. Ishtik, Rabbi Lazar was silent. So now, after Reish Lakish calmed down, Lebasar Dinach Daite, so Amarle, so he asked him, My Taima Lo Tamali, Yadav, My Taima Lo Tamali. So why didn't you respond to me? I think Rabbi Lazar is asking Reish Lakish, why didn't you tell this to me? He said to Rabbi Lazar, my time lo temeli. He said, why didn't you say anything to me? So Rabbi Lazar said, no, Yadav desmicha ka'amri. He said, when I said this rule of hand means hands in the plural, I was only talking about smicha, not other places. So you're bringing me 24 places that it says in the plural and not in the singular, and it means plural. So yeah, I meant only in smicha, not in general. So says the Gemara, okay, but besmicha nami ksiv yismak as yadav alav veitzev eyu, that Moshe Rabbeinu, I think he did smicha on Yehoshua, right? He put his hands on Yehoshua and he commanded him. So there it says smicha, but how is it written? It's written with in the plural. It doesn't say yado. It says yadav, and that's by smicha. So he says, no. I mean only smicha by an animal. Smicha de behema ka'amri. So at the end of the day, when it says yado in the singular, in the section of smicha, by an animal, there, even though it says it in the singular, it means in the plural, because we have that one time that it says it in the singular and it says two next to it. That teaches you that in the world of smicha, it's going to be one hand. It says one hand, but it's going to mean two. The Gemara said, the Mishnah said, it sounds like two things. In the place that you do smicha, you have to shecht, and right after you do smicha, you have to shecht. So Ma'i Ka'amar, it sounds like two things. But really it's the same thing. So Haki Ka'amar, it's been Makam Shesom and Chokten. In the place that you do smicha, you have to shecht. Why? It explains, you put in the shit, take out the smicha shchita. Because shchita has to follow immediately after the smicha. It has to go together. Okay, let's at least start the Mishnah. Chomer b'smicha mi b'tnufa. There's a stringency of smicha more than waving. B'tnufa mi b'smicha, and waving has a stringency more than leaning. She'echad me'nif l'chol ha'chaverim. One could do tnufa for all of his friends. 10 of us by a sacrifice. One could do waving for all of us. One cannot do waving for all of their friends. For one cannot do leaning for all their friends. Each one has to do it. Waving applies both by a personal and a communal offering. Next page. A living offering or a not living offering, such as a mincha. What? No, when it's slaughtered. Sorry, when it's slaughtered. Anything which is breathing life, anything which is not breathing life, like bread or flour. It's only it doesn't apply to slaughtered animals, and it doesn't apply by something which doesn't have any life force, such as bread or flour. Okay. Continue.
יש כוח